I still stand with the case that the justification for her going through this is very, very shit. And it seemed like it's like a really strange afterthought. I don't even know. Also, the game plays like ass. Just walking for half the time. I mean, and the thing is, like, walking is fine. There's good walking simulators. But if you want it to be engaging... Yeah, they should have left it in the first game. There's a new game plus. No one's playing that shit. Did I flush it? No, I finished it. Yeah, it's very forced continuation of the story. I think what they should have done is they could have just made it an entirely different character who's going through a same kind of same kind of illness. You could also have that same kind of the voices with a whole other story with different trauma, not just use her again. But then again, but then that wouldn't be called Senua, and that's the whole reason why I think this was just a cash grab that Xbox wanted to tack on to the IP. Because if they really wanted to make this story connect, it would not be the same protagonist. They just wanted to attach on another fucking thing. It could just be, yeah, Hellblade and then something else. They don't have to call it Senua or something. Oh yeah, they could have just done Hellblade too. Don't think it was a cash grab? No, I think, my theory, obviously, that's just my theory, is that Xbox bought them after they made the first game because it won awards. And then they were like, okay, make a second one. It has to be Senua because that's gonna sell more, because that's what people recognize. But bing bang bong. And then it's not very good. Because the mechanics are very outdated. Yeesh. Yeah, I don't think the Giants were real though. It will win awards though, probably. It did feel very Oscar baity. In 2019, they did an announcement trailer without knowing exactly what they were gonna do. They've said it. All they had was CG chanting lady. I need to find this. 2019 Senua Hellblade. When did they say this? Hellblade CG chanting lady. I don't even know. If the Giants were real, then the whole first part of the game was a group LARPing session. Yes, pretty much. Because you don't get it. They were all so under the influence of the big guy manipulating them that they couldn't see anything else. So they were so scared, and they believed that the natural disasters were because they have to keep sacrificing people. It's in the reveal trailer on E3. E3 Senua reveal. Is that it? No, that's just the trailer. I need to see the... Is there like a crowd? Development didn't begin until 2020. Oh, when we announced it in 2019, we had that trailer, but that was really all we had on the game. Things weren't developed beyond that point. No, that's just the trailer. I need them to say, I need to hear them say, oh, we don't know. That's the trailer they're talking about? Yeah, I mean, I don't care about the trailer. I want to know what they said. There's no Giants. No. They literally, I shit you not, pulled an M. Night Shyamalan. This is M. Night Shyamalan writing. Which is, I think they also probably weren't sure whether or not they wanted to make the Giants real. Because there was no boss fight. None. Except for the very end. It was all a dream. This could have had cool talking points about IRL politicians and fear-mongering, but the way Senua was forced there for the game title on the front page kills it. You're not wrong. I think they straight up would not have been able to do an actual, more meaningful game unless they just started it from the scratch. Started from scratch. Like this, it just would not work with Senua. Okay, her story is kind of done. They did not need to make a second. Yeesh. No boss fight? What was I doing the whole time? Walking. Are they gonna get shut down now? I think so. I think they're gonna shut it down now. The first game felt a lot more personal. Yeah, exactly. They have 2 projects in progress. Well, they're good at the graphics at least. I don't know. It's just, like, who gives a fuck who she was helping, you know? Was I excited for this game? Fuck no. Hi-Fi Rush was well reviewed, it got shut down. Get ready over, yeah. The insanity thing worked in the first case because it was only her dealing with it. Now they involve others and it's ambiguous and loses that. Yeah, that's my main criticism of the story. They say Hellblade 3 has been greenlit. Hellblade 3 has already been greenlit. Xbox gave Ninja Theory assurances already apparently after the Tango failed to see the cure. So they, I mean, this is just rumors. Why was Senua depicted as a savior in the first game? Because it undermines her it undermines her. Also, my brain's a little cooked because I've been up for so long. But I think the thing is, I think it's like, I don't know. They did kind of hammer it into you throughout the game, like, oh, you're the chosen one. You have to do this. You're really special. It's you. Only you can do this. Maybe because she's an outsider or something. And the whole point of the game, I guess, I think one of the morals they were telling you is you have to let other people help you. You have to let outsiders help you. Only you can prevent forest fires. Here's what PC Gamer wrote. It feeds into an oddly patronizing atmosphere. Senua is special and important just because she is. Everyone recognizes it on site and praises her for it. Yep. It starts to seem like she's a Make-A-Wish child whose request was to be in God of War. It's a feeling made far worse by the very rudimentary mechanics. True. And then you only ever fight enemies one-on-one, and all are beaten with a simple toolset of fast attack, strong attack, parry, dodge, and slow-mo power. You're constantly being told that you, as Senua, are accomplishing incredible feats and doing things no one else could have done. The reality is that most of the time you're just holding forward on the stick, or doing puzzles a child could solve, so it feels deeply unearned. In one sequence where the characters were lost in a strange forest, I was heaped with praise for using my insight to find a way through, when all I was doing was following the one clear path in front of me. And then I was telling people, you can do it. Your fear is not who you are. You can be stronger. And they're like, oh, no. Pretty much, yeah, that's what I've been saying. But in the beginning, I did thought the giants were real. So I was like, oh, wait, if that's real, then the whole point of the game is fucking dumb. At least they got that part. If it was real, then it would have been extra stupid. God, ooh. The PC Gamer, let me see it. PC Gamer review. What else did they say? PC Gamer review Senua. They just say, there's like constant, they're not doing show not tell. Graphics look good. That's it. The mechanics being simple are not great. The game is clearly aspiring to a cinematic feel rather than the kind of system mastery demanded by previous games and Ninja Theory. Just, oh, I haven't. Wait, they made Devil May Cry? There's an awful lot of breaking the rule, show don't tell. You're never allowed to wonder about what a line might mean or the significance of a particular facial expression or gesture. Because all the voices are there talking all over it like YouTubers making a Let's Play. At their worst, they make a game trying to be intelligent and artful feel like it has no respect for the audience intelligence. I mean, yeah. The shitty one, the most hated one. Yeah, with no new personal backstory to exposit on or anxieties to work through, they don't really have anything of substance to talk about. Even Senua just ignores them most of the time. Sorry, I'm just reading this right now. This is it says the game didn't need a sequel at all. Yep. Damn, this guy pretty much says exactly everything I said. I think the previous game, it was okay. I wonder what other games this guy reviewed. Now read a positive review or IGN. Now Hellblade, IGN gave it a 9 out of 10. Read review. Let's see. I spent the majority of my 6-hour playthrough grasping for a touchstone to understand the experience. It unfolds like a beautiful, dark, tense visual novel. Wait, I'll just show this. Excellently raw human performance of the main character. Okay, hold on. Pause, fucking pause. Raw human performance? People do not act like this. Oh my god. I washed on shore. What's going on? The water. I have to go over there. I'm gonna go over there. What the fuck? Her story is one of confusion? Yeah, because it's written like shit. Sadness, fear, and loss. Loss of what? She already went through loss in the first game. What did she lose in this game? The slaver friend redemption? The people didn't even give a shit. She didn't even really give a shit. Okay, metaphor all admirably weaved together. Impressive as its story is, it reinforces the sensory nature of harrowing tale through subtle and intuitive. Oh, this is one? Alright. 8 out of 10. IGN. This is 2. Watching her, she immediately drags up extremely tote 6-hour tour. Wait, they said the other one was 6 hours too. Does it matter? Well, a little bit. I mean, I think she acts the same because in game, that kind of acting is fine in game, but it's not human. Like it, personally, I wouldn't praise that kind of performance because it's really like theatery. And I think it's easy to do that kind of acting. I mean, look at all the TikTokers that do that. It's been 7 years, the Hellblade take place shortly. I want to see if this is written by the same guy. IGN rating. No, this is someone different. Okay, this is summary. None of these supporting characters are given enough screen time to really develop much of a personality beyond the surface, but I appreciated having them along for various parts. I think the side characters were only there so that she could showcase how much of a savior complex she has. I usually compare a silent movie over the top convey emotions. Yeah, I think it's fine, but it's not. Personally, I don't think it's a praising point because it's easy to do. But I do think it works for video games because video games cinematics are camp. I completely bought into her determination to battle through the fear and self-loathing. Okay, pause. The fear and self-loathing in the game was just the voices going like, don't go in there, I'm scared, it's dark. I'm scared. And she's like, I'm gonna go in there. And that's it, like that's it. That's it. I completely bought her from moments where she's paralyzed by anxiety through to shocking outward bursts of blood boiling rage. Hey, whatever, man. He's just praising the graphics. Who gives a shit? Good graphics are so easy to do now. That's not really The trade-off is that Hellblade 2 runs capped at 30 frames per second. But I feel its visual design was gobsmacking enough to justify that limit. Somebody fucking fire this guy. Somebody fucking fire this guy. This guy is the reason why gamers fucking hate 30 FPS. Like this, what the fuck is this? The impressive, like, who gives a fuck, dude? That nothing justifies capping at 30 frames per second. Nobody gives a shit. The swirling voices seem so close you can almost feel the breath. Yeah, okay, whatever. This time not only do these serve as a bickering angel, they clearly sound... Okay, the problem with this is that is part of the novelty in the game. Like, sure, okay, that's part of the experience. But this guy, the glazing is insane. The immaculate visuals are reinforced by first-class binaural audio design. Appreciate the detailed environmental touches like flies buzzing around mutilated corpses and drops of water. That is expected. That is expected. This guy wants the word count. 100%. Hold on. Much of Senua's war in the original Hellblade was waged against demonic manifestations. However, in Hellblade 2, the majority of her foes are flesh and bone human warriors. That means every attack you land feels more brutal. Okay. That doesn't really... I mean, I did notice that the sword does open wounds on the skin. But it's not something I would... Like, it's not something to jerk off over. Enemy encounters can be brought viciously abrupt to a viciously abrupt end by jamming Senua's blades so far down their Nordic necks they need to perform a Heimlich maneuver, Hellheimlich maneuver, to cough it back up again. Stop, you're so funny. The combat camera is so tight on each conflict that every weighted blow lands with concussive force. I was acutely aware of Senua's knees buckling under her as I blocked an incoming series of powerful slashes. Dodging feels much for... Okay, this guy is just taking, like, all the shit, all the bad parts about it, and just glazing it up to absolute... Okay, because as a gamer who likes fast-paced fighting action games, it feels like shit. Because she's really sluggish, she moves like shit, she doesn't roll. You have to, like, kind of... The dodging is kind of, like... It's just slow. It feels very, like, sludge. Very sludgy. But maybe this guy is just so bad at the game that he thinks it's a good thing. The parry is fine. But everybody had the exact same attack, more or less. There's like 2 attacks each. Have I played the first one? Yeah. But, okay, talk to me about the story. Pussy. Okay, that's fine too. That said, while I remain consistently engaged in each ferocious and remarkably fluid fight to the death, I do wish they had done a little more to build upon the fairly modest combat template. It does feel a touch similar to play through another campaign with the same basic 2-button mix of light and heavy. As superbly animated as they well be. So far, all the compliments have been very surface level. Like, oh, animation looks good. The impact looks good. The slashing looks good. The environment looks good. Okay, just talking about the attack. Sure. Yeah, every mob remained mostly unchanged from start to finish, even on hardest difficulty. Wait, he said encounters are mostly... It's very... This is insane glazing. Yeah, she has no further attack-altering abilities. Oh, Hellblade in combat encounter are consistently menacing and muscular? So he had to really, really dial it in and lock in because he was gonna die? In the original Hellblade, I often found myself getting stabbed in the back by an unseen off-screen assailant. Thankfully, that's no longer an issue. Okay, so this guy is just praising the game more because he fucking sucks. The energetic direction brings new opponents seamlessly barreling into frame. The second another foe is violently dispatched, successfully sells the illusion. Okay, I will praise that it's kind of cool the cinematic way that they do of introducing a new enemy into the fight. However, constant just like one-on-one, it's boring. Like the fights, you can tell at some points that they were purposely dragging it on longer. Nah, you stupid as fuck. Shut up. You're dead. Your fucking development studio is probably getting shut down soon. Enjoy your lacking sales because your game is now available on the Xbox Game Pass for $1. But that's it. Like, it's boring. Having 1v1 at a time is boring. And the fights at the end of the game were exactly the same as the beginning. Not counting the boss. It's exactly the same. There were some exceptionally well-executed sequences that revolve around murderous giants who cross over Midgard from another realm and are hoovering up sacrificed slaves like a human stage. These encounters are urgent, desperate scenarios that put Senna through rigorous physical trials, although they don't ever actually put her head to gigantic head conflict. I mean, even the mechanic with the bosses were repetitive and kind of drawn out. Like, run, stop. Run, stop. Run, stop. That's it. Norse code. There was an equal amount of environmental puzzles to tease your brain. At regular junctions, a path forward is blocked by a swirling, kaleidoscopic gate made out of fractured body parts. The puzzles where you just look at it and then it opens, and then you go somewhere else and you look at it and it opens. It sprinkles in the use of torchlit braziers and bubble switches that transform the terrain. What the fuck? This baby puzzles. For the most part, the puzzles are seemingly designed to momentarily stall Senua's forward march. Yeah. But the glazing is crazy. Okay, so extra lore. He's really glazing like every tiny detail of it. Wait, he didn't even talk about the metaphors and the deeper meaning of the story. What? He didn't even talk about it at all. You didn't get that far? The fuck? It maintains a surging sense of forward momentum. The story surprises that maintains a surging sense of forward momentum and never wastes a second of its slender runtime. For the most part, Hellblade 2's puzzles are seemingly designed to momentarily stall Senua's forward march. Never wastes a second of its slender runtime. You're joking. Talking about the story, but I mean, none of these environmental particulars are seemingly designed to momently stall her forward march. Yeah, that means to stop you from progressing. Rather than ever truly stump you. Oh, so I guess he's kind of saying that it's like you don't get stopped as much and the puzzles are stupid because it's simpled down, like simplified. Just some bumps in the road. But then that has a problem that the puzzles are ass. He's trying to be kind by saying puzzles are loading screens, yeah. Because because you can say that because the puzzles are ass, you're not advancing the story and it's just there to stall, which wastes time. This guy didn't talk about the story at all. What the fuck? Maybe he might not have even finished it. Hold on. Does he say anything about the giants? Not really. The combat in the first game was ass too, but I mean the combat in the first game, the overall first game can be excused for having shitty combat or whatever. because everything else was better. This one is just like worse in every way. Genuine question, how does the puzzle advance the story? It doesn't. But then, I mean, the thing with doing the puzzle is if you make the puzzle more fun, it doesn't feel like you're sludging through it and just going like, okay, this is just a fucking walking simulator to stall. I think the first one sucked so bad. It didn't age well. The mechanics are old. It's like, if you played if people played Alan Wake now, it would not be enjoyable. Because that flashlight mechanic is outdated. This game is walking simulator, but then one way to make walking simulators interesting is that you have exposition being given, or whatever lore, or whatever like side thing, to keep you entertained as you're doing whatever walking is. So if the puzzles barely even live up to being puzzles because they're baby puzzles, then what is even the fucking point? The lore wasn't even interesting. Yeah, it wasn't. This is fucking insane. 8 out of 10, and the whole time he's basically talking about superficial stuff. There are reviewers who gave it a 10 out of 10. Probably same people that liked Plague Tale. Read this guy's other reviews.
Turning setbacks into bounce backs.
Ah!
Science did that.
Watching Senua emerge from a shipwreck onto the shoreline, bruised, bloodied, and struggling to
Alan
breathe,
Wake 2 review
immediately drags us back into the depths of desperation and despair
What did he rate it?
of Senua's saga Hellblade 2's psychosis-affected lead.
We've all been dying to know
What follows is a supremely
It's not a lake,
taut
it's an
6-hour
ocean.
tour across the human realm of Midgard that's conveyed through staggeringly vivid action sequences, stunning Nordic-inspired locations, and intense encounters with towering terrors intimidating enough to make a Viking mess their furs. Hellblade 2 serves up another satisfyingly brutal and
How do I see how much what did he rate it? That's preview, not review. No Atomic Heart review? Okay, wait. Is there more? They gave they have an Alien Isolation one? I've gotta see this. Phoenix Wright? He rated the medium higher than... I'm getting psychotic. This is like 2016. Review in progress. He never finished. Where's Alien? I don't see it. You can check reviews only. Oh wow, I'm surprised. I'm surprised. I thought this guy likes eating shit. Not bad. Death Stranding. Let's see what he gave Death Stranding. 7. He gave the medium higher than Death Stranding. That's crazy. Where's Alien Isolation? Oh, Death Stranding regular review? 6.8, even lower? Where's Alien? Did I miss it? Has been like 10 hours. This is like 2010. Oh wait, he doesn't have Isolation. He doesn't have it. Come here, IGN reviewer. What did he give the first one? He didn't, yeah, it wasn't him for Alien. It's good. He's not wrong, it's the best worst game. He's not wrong, it is funny. But the medium is crazy. Hella good. Wait, I want to see the comments. $50 is crazy. It is crazy. $50 is crazy. All these people have to be old, right? Who comments on IGN? This has to be the best looking game of this generation. Dude, the glazing for graphics in this current day and age is insane. Like, games are expected to look good. It's not hard to make games to look good now. It's not difficult. Is it worth $50? Fuck no. It's not even worth $5. That is insane. Fuck, dude. It's crazy. Why do I hate this game? It's just ass. It's just ass. My brain, okay, I've been streaming for 10 hours. So my brain is a little mushy. So pardon me if some things I say aren't making sense. The thing, yeah, it seems like the biggest praise that this game can get is graphics are good. And puzzles don't make you ask your mom to solve for you. That's true. Overall, terrible game. 4 out of 10. Save your money. Xbox Game Pass. Bada bing, bada boom. Don't make another Senua's Saga, please. Let her rest. Leave her alone. Please leave her alone. This guy, I mean, the other guy actually played through the whole thing. I can, like, you can tell through the story, through the review of the story. Did he review the story? This guy barely mentioned anything about the story at all. Like, nothing. Didn't say shit. Everything he glazed was just like, oh, the graphics, the animation. Did I finish the game? Yeah. I cannot trust reviewers, man. I cannot trust reviewers. What story? The story is that she sailed to another country to help save them from their tyrants that brainwash people into thinking that giants are destroying them when giants don't exist. Watch Donkey's video about IGN.
Welcome to IGN, kid. So you're our new reviewer, huh? I'll be your handler, Walter White. I'm gonna show you how to do a good game review. Polly, bring up that one stupid-ass one.
Immortals of Avium is an impressively confident first-person shooter.
They need to keep this guy on the reviews. 8 out of 10. Good thinking. He's an old pro. Now, Polly, bring up one of our bad reviews that we like to do.
Monotonous micromanagement, a poor interface, and by-the-numbers combat.
This game scored a 75 out of 100 rating for PS5 on Metacritic from the critics. Seems pretty decent, unlike this review. 4 out of 10. Fucking amateur. I remember this kid. He was nice. Quit the next day. Polly, get this shit show off the screen. Put on our Baldur's Cape review.
Baldur's Gate 3 is just about everything I could have asked for.
Oh boy, IGN really made a comeback. 10 out of 10. Good thinking.
The shallow number of samey maps can get monotonous pretty quickly.
This game looks like shit. No way this dude has played other horror asymmetricals or even understands the genre.
If you've played any asymmetrical horror game, be that Dead by Daylight or Friday the 13th, Evil Dead, or
I got banned
Ghostbusters
from
Spirits
Friday the
Unleashed,
13th.
Travis Northup needs to apologize for his reviews big time.
Dave the Diver never stopped surprising me. Easily one of the best games I've played this year so far.
Great review. Might pick it up. Thanks, IGN.
Story of Seasons: A Wonderful Life doesn't offend, but it sure doesn't impress either.
It's supposed to feel dated.
That's the guy I just
Love this
shit
game.
on? Really?
Fantasy 16
I didn't even
really
remember his
impressed me.
name.
Great review. Fair points were made.
Diablo 4 is completely awesome to behold.
Agreed for once. 9 is an accurate rating. Great game for sure.
Octopath Traveler 2 is another good old-fashioned 80-hour JRPG.
7 is a piss-poor score for this. It deserves an 8 at minimum. This guy was all over the place with his review.
Honkai Star Rail is the best free-to-play game of the year so far.
Amazing review. Amazing game.
This is a sadly lackluster follow-up to Modern Warfare 2019's refined take on a Call of Duty campaign.
6 out of 10. IGN died long ago.
Make you feel like Spider-Man?
Jesus, give this man a raise or something, and keep adding more people passionate like him for video game reviews.
But if you haven't already played it on Wii, the deluxe version is the ideal way to see what a traditional Kirby game is all about.
Another IGN reviewer that doesn't understand the Kirby series.
This is Ragnar, and he is my large adult demon son.
Wow, that was actually an amazing review. I'll take my hat off and admit it.
Sometimes nostalgia makes things from the past seem better than they actually are.
I've learned over the years not to trust IGN. If you want a real review, go over to GameSpot.
The way he leaps off of rooftops and flips backwards to face the camera before falling into a headfirst dive is just full of the exaggerated swagger of a black teen. It gives me goosebumps every time he does it.
It's Metroid. I love those games.
That was the best IGN review I've seen in a decade.
But he's hoping that Sega can show some better judgment in the series' future.
I didn't know that was a voiceover.
It helps when you get a reviewer that actually wants to play the game they're reviewing, like me.
Cyberpunk 2077's impressively flexible design makes it a truly remarkable RPG.
Great review. I'm sure the patches will fix everything. Best to wait a few weeks to play.
Shenmue 3, in all its oddity, exists.
You're criticizing the game. This is not a proper review.
While there are some mischaracterization opportunities, Age of Calamity remains a blast from start to finish.
IGN finally gives a fair and great review. Super hyped to pick this game up tomorrow.
But while it may not be the most stylish or polished, its rugged and brutal look at the muddy business of Scandinavian expansion is as memorable and dense as an Assassin's Creed has ever been.
Thank you for making a non-biased review. Best review I have seen. Many others are obviously haters.
Valhalla.
But there aren't enough interesting weapons to keep the battles from getting dull.
This guy has obviously never played a serious Sam game in his life.
Pikmin 4 is an absolute failure of a Pikmin game, and an insult to the masterpieces that came before it.
Really enjoyed this review. It was clear the reviewer had great in-depth knowledge. And
Saints Row the third? More like this is the third time I've reviewed Saints Row 3.
Guys, ignore this review.
But the impressive graphical overhaul and welcome quality of life improvements make this the best version of Xenoblade Chronicles we've ever had.
This is actually such a terrible review. Did
my
you even
God.
play the game's main story? You spoil one of the biggest plot points in this game to flex your endgame gear or whatever. You mispronounce names of major characters that you...
Mind-bogglingly cool, and an absolutely unparalleled way to virtually explore our world.
This review was phenomenal. We need more reviews like this, IGN. Give this man a raise.
But those few bright spots aren't enough to bring Battle for Bikini Bottom's
played this
passable
game.
but simplistic gameplay up to the standard of a 2020
It was
platformer.
decent.
This is why gamers should review games, not journalists.
Oh.
Kingdom Hearts 3's Remind DLC is oddly jumbled.
Trash! Fire this guy!
This is literally the worst review I've ever seen. They should have
I
got
think
a
it's a
fan
good
of the
kids
series to
game.
review this.
That said, I'm impressed by how much Square Enix has stuck the landing for one of my favorite long-running series. And that's why it's so exciting to see that Kingdom Hearts 3 is as full of heart as it ever has been.
Great job, Jonathan. Honestly, I don't know who else could have done this review besides you.
Busy. Talk to you later.
Every time I review a game, I get comments like, delete your channel, this game is
Oh, Tristan Ogilvy. Disappointed.
All right, we're here with our Hellblade 2 review, and yeah, I found the game extremely disappointing. And
I
I'm gonna get into that.
agree. Beautiful but bland. I agree. I agree. I guess it's about the same. 1 hour per year. He is scathing in his review.
All right, we're here with our Hellblade
Wait, when is the Elden Ring trailer dropping?
2 review, and yeah, I found the game extremely disappointing, and I'm going to get into that. But definitely between a rock and a hard place on this
30
review. Not
minutes?
fun, I'll tell you what, because the Xbox community despises me. They think I hate the brand. And then we have PlayStation fans who despise me as well, because they think I love Xbox. And then also there's that kind of weird factor in the middle of I kind of made comparisons between Ninja Theory's potential and Naughty Dog, and they didn't like that much, and that's a take that's going to age like milk based on this review. And yeah, I'd like to issue a retraction on that one because I was definitely dead wrong. Worse yet,
Marco,
the
fans of
circumstances
platforms,
surrounding
I don't know.
Hellblade 2
People that are fans of platforms have to be like phase era millennials. I do not know who else engages in this kind of platform gruggery.
couldn't be worse for Ninja Theory. There was already a lot of anticipation for the game. Ninja Theory was acquired by Xbox in 2018 with what felt like a public statement to gamers that despite what had happened during the Xbox One generation, the company was here to stay and invest in smaller games as a part of their business moving forward. The feeling right now is that Xbox
console
needs
wars,
its
that
biggest
is a
win yet
really
in a
old
time of great
people thing.
uncertainty surrounding both the
Old as in like
direction
millennial,
and
like
lifespan
whatever,
of its
younger than
30+
millennial
studios.
slightly.
At the same time, Xbox is under fire because of its lack of marketing for Hellblade 2 and what is their first major exclusive in 2024 and a potential prestige product, something they've said behind the scenes they're looking for, to rebuild some
Wait, Matt Booty! I saw his name in the trailer and I laughed at it because his last name was Booty.
with confidence in the brand. The trick is, guys, gals, is
Can I sum up what I
Xbox
think of the
did
game?
market this game.
I had a brain fart earlier because I've been streaming for so long that it's hard to even put together a coherent thought. Basically, I give the game a 4 out of 10. The only thing that is praisable about the game is that it looks good, but to compare to the first game, it's shit in literally every way possible. Because one, if we talk about the first game, the main point of the first game was her overcoming her condition and following the purpose of her honoring her husband and learning to come to terms with herself and self-development, a lot of self-improvement, and how like she navigates the world through her journey, like everywhere and everything. She was seeing all those things because it's like a figment of her mind. and she was battling, and like it was a metaphor for her battling demons in her mind, blah 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 blah, whatever. Gameplay, it's okay. It didn't age very well. If you play it now, you might be a little bit bored, but I don't really have any strong criticism to say about it because that did come out a while ago, and sometimes game mechanics don't age as well. It is also already a walking simulator at the first game is already a walking simulator, so it makes sense that they made the second game a walking simulator also. But it's okay because a lot of it was the novelty of her and the voices that are whispering in her head that made the game really, really unique at its time. Now, move on to the second game. They made it her as the main character again. She already got over the trauma of losing her husband because that was her whole journey in the first game. And then the second game, it starts off with her justification for the game. The goal is that she wants to save her people from becoming slaves. So she travels over, and then she finds out that the slavers were actually trying to fight a giant evil, and the giants are like fucking up the town, so they have to capture them for slaves. And her whole personality in the second game is, I have to save them, I can fix them, which is so weak compared to the first foundation that she had a goal that she set out to do. It's weak because it's like there's no development on why she wants to save her people other than she just wants to because they're her people, which is very, very basic. When you haven't even been shown how she grew up, her childhood, whatever, all that stuff could have helped a lot, but it didn't. It's just very like, oh, okay, sure, like I can fix them. And then it ends up being she's going through all these people. They also are hallucinating the same thing. And once again, it removes like the personal struggle that she had in the first game and kind of like spread it to other people because other people are also hallucinating. Which you're like, okay, sure, I guess, but it's just kind of a weak narrative point. And the whole game throughout, the second game, she's like, they're like, oh, she's the chosen one. Only she can do this. She's really special. Which is something that I mentioned. It was like the Mulan movie, the animated movie. It's about Mulan overcoming self-doubt and understanding that she as a woman can also be a very formidable soldier, and she works hard to get to whatever. And then the second game, or the movie, the live action movie, she's like, oh, you can only do all this because you're the chosen one. Your hard work doesn't matter because you're the chosen one. You were destined to be able to do all this stuff. Yeah, the live action, which is like, oh, that completely kind of just went against the point of the struggle that she went through in the first one. So what is the struggle in the journey? And the struggle in the journey was the voices telling her, don't go in there. It's dark. It's so dark. And she's like, I'm gonna go in there.
A lot. You've possibly seen like,
who gives a fuck?
Moment of Hellblade 2.
And then
My Naughty Dog
everything
take
else was
may have been
like,
completely incorrect, but at least
which just makes me unable to excuse the shitty puzzles and the combat being very repetitive.
Hang my hat on the fact that I called this one from pretty far away as to why Hellblade 2 wasn't being marketed. It wasn't really, in my opinion, being sent out to die. There just wasn't much left to show, as I'll display in this review. Announced alongside the Xbox Series X in 2019, many expected Hellblade 2 sooner, and I think the game would have actually fared better in my experience if it were just that, maybe a launch title or something like that. It's a game that feels like it's been lapped by much of its competition, such as A Plague Tale Requiem, in every conceivable way. It's a game that could serve as a case study.
They're not wrong. Plague Tale is better.
Seeped into AAA style games and lets them spin their wheels for far too long with little meaningful progress made for the actual players of the game, merely just the technology. It's a game that perfectly shows how a larger team size doesn't grant you a better game. Ninja Theory was around like 20 some odd people when Hellblade 1 was made. They were 80 with Hellblade 2. And I think you can feel that in the visuals, but when you play the game, nope. It's a game that shows you how mere graphical fidelity can no longer carry an experience, and in my opinion, never could.
It's true.
Worse yet, I think Hellblade 1 is far better in almost every aspect. Its level design, pacing, storytelling, and even how it gets to the core of touching issues like psychosis, the series' primary theme it delves deep into. Hell, the combat could be argued as being better in the original, given you no longer have mechanics like dodge roll attacks, and that's saying something given Hellblade 2's combat isn't really having much going on there. If I were to define this as anything, to put it in a little bottle here, it's Xbox's The Order 1886 moment, but Even then, it's kind of a stretch, which is why it's not in the title of the review. I really like games such as The Order 1886 and Rise Son of Rome. Both served as showcases for their respective hardware and made no hesitation about flexing their technical might, yet they didn't leave the most important factor behind: fun. Both of these games, in my opinion, are very fun to play.
That's what someone in chat said. They were so concerned with huffing their own fart, they forgot they're making a game.
Playthroughs twice over when I first bought my Xbox One at launch. The Order's world and story take time, but when it picks up alongside its gameplay, I think it's excellent. And then it ends. It's that line there that you can closely draw between The Order and Hellblade 2. Hellblade 2 has its fleeting moments of excellence beyond its visuals, but they're quickly forgotten due to most of the experience consisting of walking forward, boring puzzles where there are far too many, might I add, an unreasonably limited amount of combat encounters, and an ending that leaves you feeling like there was so much left on the cutting room floor here. I'm going to get into rich
5
detail
years
now,
is crazy.
but that's the too long didn't read. Hellblade 2 is a game that certainly I was championing. I don't make Naughty Dog comparisons lightly, and they completely missed the mark in my opinion, and I far prefer Hellblade 1. So ladies and gentlemen, if you're new here and you're into the occasional day one review, consider subscribing. Let's start off with the story. I'm going to go very light on this section because we're talking about a game that has maybe a runtime of 5 hours. So Senna was traveling to kill the Northmen who are abducting her people and enslaving them. She's quickly derailed from that plan in a tale that feels like it made very little sense until the story's dying moments. Instead of this being a story focused on just Senua alone, she's joined by a support cast that doesn't get much of an opportunity to shine outside of one who joins you at the journey's very beginning, and his development does add quite a lot to the story. Otherwise, the short runtime here hurts as these added characters don't have much time to develop. Meanwhile, Senua's journey is a depiction of how others interact with one who suffers from psychosis, and the game displaying how her darkness, as they put it, is a gift that can save her people. I think? I'm not entirely sure here. Right? And not because I'm an idiot. It's because I think the game, compared to the original, does not convey its themes well enough throughout, again, this very short runtime.
No, they don't convey it very well, but then it's such an easy way for people who think the game is good to be like, oh, you just didn't understand. No, the game is fucking shit.
Senna was
like, the story is shit, the metaphors are shit.
To be a darkness handed
There's
down
just
from
not enough development anywhere.
That journey was about her overcoming that alongside the grief of losing the only one who ever loved her and trying to bring him back to life. In the sequel, Senua is still coping with death, but in a different way, as it's following her wherever she goes, and she starts to begin to blame herself for the death that surrounds her both past and present. In Hellblade 1, everything from its combat to even the puzzles was in service of an impactful story being told. You didn't just fight to break things up, you fought because it was a depiction of Senua's struggles at that moment. You didn't solve puzzles to extend the length of a game, at least most times. It was typically done in synchronization with Senua learning something about herself or the world. Hellblade 2 is the opposite in all regards.
Yeah.
And perhaps
that is a really good point about the puzzles. So when you were doing the puzzles, she was just doing the puzzles. Like, there was nothing else. No other sustenance.
What was the saddest part for me about this review? It feels like all that Ninja Theory did to make the first game special was completely forgotten for pretty graphics, beautiful lighting, and exceptional motion capture. I think it's wonderful because it definitely is going to be a technical showpiece, but as someone who loved the first Hellblade, I feel like we totally missed what made that game special.
There is no way. They literally cannot use Senua again. Like, there's no way to fix this game. To make a good Senua Saga Hellblade 2 does not exist. It would have to be Hellblade 2 with a different character completely, because the story just doesn't work if she's trying to help other people.
Hellblade before.
The metaphors just don't work.
Strengths, and it is present in this game, is being unable to tell what's real and what's not. However, I think there was a thread that Ninja Theory kind of had their hand on that they would pull at times to really connect things and make sense of what was real and what wasn't, whether it be through how encounters were set up and what Senua was actually fighting. Was it her personal demons or actual enemies? Hellblade 2 does just that. This game is super seamless in its storytelling. There's no breaks for load screens, nothing like that. It just goes, and that's one of the best parts about the game is you'll just have these beautiful transitions between reality and maybe not reality, and then big cutscene and gameplay, and it's all, again, beautiful and seamless. It is definitely something that many AAA developers are going to study, but I think as a player of games, there isn't going to be a lot for people to take away here because, again, when you go down to the story, the main thing I loved about
looks like
Hellblade
30
1 is I
FPS.
raved about it in my original review. Hellblade 2, I think, just delivers things in such a messier way. And even when you start to come to understand what they're trying to do here by the game's final moments, it ends. Just like I mentioned with the Order 1886, you're like, okay, I'm on board here. If we get like another 2 more hours here, this is about to be sick. And then it ends. Now, some may say, well, that confusion, that's the point, Maddie. That's the whole idea of the game. You're not supposed to really know. You're supposed to be in Senua's shoes. You're supposed to really feel her pain, her confusion, and fair. At the same time, though, I think Hellblade 1 exists as a perfect example of doing that without totally losing the player. And oftentimes, I found Hellblade 2's story to feel quite aimless, which you just can't afford to have in such a short runtime, as I'm about to hammer home here in many other ways. I'll just say that I can't imagine many people are going to be thrilled to wait for a part 3 of Senua's Tale after 5+ years of waiting for Hellblade 2. Just to get to this point, play for a few hours and go, okay, I gotta wait another X amount of years.
They might just cancel it and axe it.
A little shortchanged. The game's visuals do aid its storytelling capabilities. I mean, it's basically a 5 to 6 hour movie, so it does the job well. The motion capture is absolutely excellent, as is the acting. The performances here are really good, in my opinion, and can heighten some of the biggest moments in the game. The voices, though, that Senua hears, speaking of Psychosis earlier, in my opinion, are handled worse this time because they're basically like the yellow paint for storytelling. Rather than depicting Senua's uncertainty, the struggles that haunt her, most times they just point out the obvious during very important cutscenes, and oftentimes are speaking over characters already talking. But that's the point, Maddie. She's experiencing
psychosis.
I feel that there is a way to do it right, Hellblade 1, and a way to do it wrong, Hellblade 2. Beyond just having these voices speak over important parts of the story, which to many may be a compelling part of Hellblade 2 because it puts you in Senua's shoes further, for me it was serving more as a distraction, but perhaps my biggest problem is what I stated earlier, which is the usage of the voices, in particular pointing you toward various obvious things in the world. You know how all these AAA games have yellow paint all over the place and it just guides you throughout the world? Think of that for storytelling when it comes to the voices Senua hears in her head, which is in line with other AAA games where they're telling you where to go, where to climb, who to talk to, what you should do for your next objective.
I don't mind yellow paint.
It, to me, misaligns what the original point of the voices in her head were, which was to guide Senua as a character.
But that's true.
Right, to evolve her character.
The voices,
yeah,
the voices were guiding her in the puzzles.
Instead,
which
here,
they don't
they're
need
used
to do.
Well, guide you to the next step. It's not all the time. Oftentimes her thoughts will develop her character. And it's in those moments that I feel the greatest pain because it's like we're so close. You have those moments where you're right there, you get it. And then you go back to using it as yellow paint instead of actually enhancing and exposing different parts of Senua's character and the various thoughts she was having. Like someone would clearly be menacing and the voice would be like, oh, they're evil. They're clearly evil, clearly bad. I'm like, yeah, I can I can tell. He's got his weapon drawn on me. It would just in those moments not add to
no
it.
way.
Again, this is going to be something.
What's better? Plague Tale is better than Hellblade 2.
Critique these types of
Plague
things,
Tale
but
2
I just
better
think
than Hellblade
when you
2.
look at Hellblade 1, they used it in a much smarter way. To my surprise, Hellblade 2 actually does have a New Game Plus option that can add a little extra time to your play clock if you're so inclined to double dip. I won't say what it is, but on a second replay, it may add some new wrinkles to the story. It's not enough to save your experience if you're in my shoes, but you may end up liking it a lot if you end up enjoying the main story of Hellblade 2. Ultimately, I think games like A Plague Tale Requiem are perfect examples of how this style of design from 2017 has been lapped multiple times, might I add, but I think A Plague Tale Requiem is the best example because that was my game of the year in 2022.
What?
It's a game that managed to have that cinematic movie feel. It put all of the story at the forefront, no doubt about it.
Hey, some people like eating shit. Some people like eating shit.
Hugo was literally all it was about. Much of the time in that game is spent walking around, talking, building that relationship. But that relationship never forces you to sacrifice meaningful gameplay, exploration, interaction with the characters in its world. This design was really left behind.
Can you explain what you really liked about the guy who was trying to kill the kids and then later he goes like, yay, uppies, haha, oh, I love children, let's hang out, I'm a dad figure.
And I think Hellblade 2 is a perfect example of why. It's just been lapped by other games that looked at Hellblade 1 likely and evolved it. To wrap up the story segment before we move on to gameplay, I
Watch
just want
it.
to say that Hellblade 2 does have a lot of great moments
Oh,
throughout.
God.
In
I
particular,
don't even
think the
remember
second
anything
half is
about it
full of
other
more
than I
good
really
moments
hated
than
it.
bad. As someone who's covered Xbox for the last half a decade, Ninja Theory has always been clear that they wanted to deliver an audiovisual experience. And even if you were looking for answers like how does gameplay move forward, you typically hear something about motion capture, lighting, performance tech, that sort of stuff. You'd never hear about combat, new moves, even the storytelling in a sense. You never really heard much about it. It was always about the audiovisual experience, which Hellblade 1 is famously known for. The problem I have, just to be extremely clear here before we move on from most of our storytelling critiques, is that Hellblade 1 didn't leave behind
The main
a
character
ton of
never
its fun
stopped
factor
talking,
and
yes.
also managed to
I remember
convey its
pointing
themes
that
and
out.
story in a much better manner. And that's why I may sound overly harsh with this game, because the reality is I went in expecting an audiovisual experience, and I did get just that, but I was not prepared for, quite frankly, how boring and disconnected this game would feel, and we'll talk about that now with the gameplay. I don't know how else to put this, but what you're seeing is
Whoa,
about the
what the
first
fuck?
40 minutes of Hellblade 2.
He's got a
Yep.
crazy controller.
Just the analog stick forward, and that is no exaggeration. I know this because whenever I'm recording gameplay, I have my Elgato software
Starfield
up, there's
controller?
a timer, and when I pressed my first set of buttons for combat in the game, I looked over and went, oh wow, 40 minutes, no breaks, 40 minutes. I was like, okay, wow, almost an hour of gameplay, and I just walked forward the whole time. And that wasn't the only time that would happen in Hellblade 2. The pacing is absolutely
he doesn't understand the game. Okay, in the beginning, you have to hold forward to walk because you're actually putting yourself in her shoes, and how hard it is to walk in her shoes, to hold down one button because you're like, well, when does something happen? Because it's actually talking about how when you're in life, you're just walking forward. You don't know when something is about to happen, so you keep moving forward.
In Hellblade 2. And look, I am a massive JRPG fan. I don't want to hear from one person how I need to be more patient or more understanding. I love these movie types of games. I can totally get behind them, all right? And I have the patience to sit through 90, 100 plus hour games. But when your game is barely crossing the 5-hour mark, you need to go. You need to go much faster than this. I'm not saying I need action constantly, because it's not even that. It's just compelling character interaction, more happening on screen. Most of this game is graphics flexing as you walk through pretty barren,
Literally,
but extremely
yeah.
beautiful environments. There's no denying Hellblade 2
So
is
fart
the
sniffing.
most beautiful game you can play right now in 2024. It is stunning how good this game looks. But that's also what most of the time in development was spent on. How good the game looks.
How
And
many
it's not
rocks-
because you're walking
rock
around and taking
textures.
in the sights that the pacing is bad. It's because you oftentimes hit puzzles. This is the same gameplay formula you found in Hellblade 1. You would walk around a little bit, you'd hit a puzzle, you'd find some combat, rinse and repeat. How does Hellblade 1 do it better in Hellblade 2? I think things like level design went much further in Hellblade 1 to make it more interesting to explore these locales. Number 2, I think the puzzle segments were, in my experience and in my memory, extremely brief. I think 3, the combat sections and the storytelling sections were much more longer and stretched out, thus leaving a lot more impact. Whereas in Hellblade 2, you get puzzles like this bubble one where you're kind of switching between realities and it's changing the world around you. You just focus on them. There are the same rune puzzles that you'll remember from Hellblade 1 where you have to like focus on these symbols and match them all up. And
Thanks,
this
Lewis.
culminates in one of the all-time worst chapters in a video
So,
game I've
did you
played.
like the game?
Chapter 3 in
No.
Hellblade 2, which is like the halfway point of the game, by the way.
Thanks,
You are just
Nahaj.
running around with a
Yeah, this is
torch,
this is
lighting
like a way
fires
worse
for like
than the first
hour,
game.
and that is it. It is. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but it is like snoozer time gaming. Like
He's
was
not trying to be
struggling to
disrespectful.
stay awake.
I
am
am.
not like that. Not
Fuck
at
that
all. Like, I
shit.
take my
Why do
job
they even
very
make this
seriously here.
garbage?
I don't want
I
to be
can't believe they
disrespectful
had
to developers.
100 people waste their life on this shit.
I want to do what's best for gaming. I am not like that, man, but this was really bad. And again, you just, in a game this short, you cannot have sections like this. There's moments, games that are much longer need these types of moments to be able to breathe. Like, okay, I need this downtime to solve some puzzles because most of the time I'm fighting. But most of the time in Hellblade 2, you're just wandering and solving puzzles. And the puzzles aren't really good or compelling or convey the game's themes well enough. They just feel like filler in an already short game. What it led to is me imagining, okay, what if I plucked all of these moments out? By the way, only one of these puzzles I ever got stuck on. But what if I just plucked all of these out.
Does he like the game?
Runtime
No.
would be cut possibly in half, and I think that's why they exist. They don't exist to serve the game in any meaningful way, just to extend a runtime of an already tragically short video
I think
game,
the devs actually ran into the same problem. I think the dev team knows that they're like, oh shit, we fucked up. We can't make a good game and a good narrative plot with this. That's why we have to pad it out.
We already knew short was going to be the thing going in, and that was fine with me. It's just that how you use that runtime is everything, and Hellblade 2 does not use its runtime well. This is a bigger shame because the combat in the game, which I have saved for last to talk about, may be mechanically leaner than its previous entry, but I enjoyed the encounters way more. The seemingly endless string of enemies. You finish one and then another steps in, and the way they step in, maybe killing
this
someone
game,
else,
if they didn't have the padding, would be like
seamless. It's
2 to 3
beautiful.
hours
It's
max.
awesome. You combine that with the ramping music, the intensity of barely surviving, no UI. You don't know how much health you have. Some enemies hit harder than others. It's so wonderful, but at the same time you wonder where the enemy variety is. I mean, this is the same company that made DMC Devil May Cry. I know people hate that game, but I love the combat in it. I get this is a story game, but I think it's inexcusable that the combat has evolved so little in so many years. You have a light attack, a heavy attack, a dodge button, a parry/block button, and you can use your mirror to basically mash through annoying enemies at times, or enemies that you just need to quickly get rid of because you're low on health. Still, I can't lie, like even with less combat mechanics, I really enjoyed the combat in Hellblade 2 because it was about the intensity. You could feel how you were barely hanging on at certain points, and that made it great. I think with some enemy variety in there and a couple of extra moves, I'm talking like maybe 1 or 2 just to target these enemies, we would have something totally different here. But the fact that this combat is used so infrequently does the game a huge disservice. Not because my little action brain needs more stimulation, it's because the combat can be really good, and the moments it shows up, it does enhance what's happening because it feels like it's in synchronization with the story.
Review has more
unlike
juice in the game, you're not
unlike
wrong.
The extremely long walking
Insane
sections,
how they
the
spent
combat
years making it
serves
just for
a
it to be
strong
dull.
purpose in the story.
That's why I think the
Unfortunately,
devs
you
knew
can't
that
say
they
the
fucked
same
up.
about the big moments in the game where I guess you could call them Hellblade 2's boss fights. You really don't fight anything bigger than a singular human. The game's biggest moments are punctuated by walking/running segments.
Is that a problem?
It's, again, a shame because
I don't really
there
care about the
are
black
bright
bars
spots, as
personally.
I hoped I've shined a light on, but I know it's mostly been critical, and it's because
But you can't turn them off.
unfortunately, as I said in the title, Hellblade 2 left me pretty disappointed. I am really sad to say that because, look, guilty as charged. Put a lot of belief into Ninja Theory here. I made the Naughty Dog comparisons. I will own that one every day of the week, but I was completely wrong, clearly, because while this team is a bunch of perfectionists, as I accurately said, I think they were perfectionists in the wrong areas, ultimately leaving a impact factor behind, which I know is goal 1 of Hellblade, and they failed on that front. But
Any
goal
artists
2
in the
for Hellblade
chat,
being
you know when
fun,
you're drawing something and
they
you like
missed that
know
mark
the whole thing looks
I
kind
don't
of
know what the
shit, so you
reception
just
publicly
over render
is gonna
one
be for this
area
game. I
because
expect something
that's the only
polarizing.
thing you know how to do. I wonder if that's what they did with the game. They're like, fuck, let's just polish the rock texture some more.
Based on my experience, I think some people are really going to love Hellblade 2. I won't lie to you, I can't wrap my head around why, but it's definitely got that feel to it, where for some people, this game will just scratch that
But then the
itch.
problem
And
is
if
like
it
the
does, if
composition,
what I've described
the
sounds like music to your ears,
whole
go ahead and
color
try it out. I
scheme,
would
like
still want
everything.
people to support Hellblade 2. I loved the first game a ton. I love things from Ninja Theory in the past, but what they've done here with Hellblade 2, I'm not going to depict to you as this tragedy. I know that the emotions are heightened right now by many people watching this video because people want Xbox to get a big win, and they need a big win, and this game feels like it had to be it, and I understand all that, but for me, just pulling myself out of that moment, just looking at the game individually, it just doesn't deliver on enough areas
Very
that
expensive.
I personally want, and I was left feeling kind of shortchanged with Hellblade 2. Is it still worth like a Game Pass download, you may be wondering? Yeah, I think, again, this is a good weekend game if you want to go ahead and download on Game Pass, but when it comes to the $50 price tag,
How much?
I'm
50
sorry,
USD.
can't say you want to buy this one at full price. When it goes down in price, or if you want to subscribe to Game Pass for it for a
Oh,
month,
they were trailing in
sure,
2 minutes?
go ahead. I don't know if that'll help out the
At
studio,
8
as
a.m.?
we've already learned here with what's going on with Xbox, but for you as the consumer, that's not really your concern at the end of the day. You're here to know if a game's worth your dollar, and I would say a Game Pass subscription will do. I'm thinking of like Phantom Menace. Game Pass subscription will do. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts down below. I'm sure it'll be pretty. And with that, take excellent care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next one. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.
Is the trailer out? 60 seconds. I'll just sit here. God, my brain barely works. I'm so like... Yeah, my brain short-circuited thinking about Hellblade 2. New Game Plus on Hellblade 2. I do think I have really high standards for games, though. I'm very, very strict.